My name is Niko. After retirement Isidoros, now we have an active lieutenant colonel. Finally, you can find me in tweet. I don't know why it's doubled. Anyway, so I've been coding for 10 years in a command and control system in Hellenic Army. The last 5 years I was dealing with cybersecurity. I had the privilege to be 3 years assigned in Estonia, Tallinn. I don't know if you know where it is. Anyway, there we'll talk about what the Cyber Defense Center is doing there, but I was in the technical branch, I was doing exercise, I was doing trainings, I was a track manager on a conference that they have there, and a lot of stuff. Anyway, enough about me. So, this is my disclaimer, of course. I don't represent official opinions of the Hellenic Army of NATO or something. I'm just talking about myself and my experience and ideas. Okay, so I will try to describe what Center of Excellence are, and this is important to understand how NATO is thinking, because in my understanding, after 3 years, this is a kind of a communicating vessels. So ideas and resources and people are going from one side to the other. So Center of Excellence are, first of all, organizations that are independent, and they are organized, and they share their expertise and their experience on specific topics. NATO has already 23 accredited Center of Excellence, and the upper corner is Estonia. So it's the Center of Excellence of Estonia. The most important to take away from here is that Center of Excellence are not under the structure of NATO. So NATO cannot task them to do anything. While they cooperate, and they can give them, let's say, a project, and they can see if they can fit in their part of work, but they cannot give them a task. And that is on purpose, because they are, their intention was to be more flexible, and they can cooperate with academia, industry, etc. So this is a Cyber Defense Center of Excellence. These are the flags of the nations that they are the sponsor nation. So the decisions are taken from the sponsor nation. They have a director that is doing the day-to-day business, but the sponsor nations are involved in their taking the final order. There are 20, if you can count them. Of course, Greece is inside. And we have 6 on the waiting list. This is also important because beside the European countries that still are not inside and they're waiting, like Portugal, Denmark, Romania, we also have some 3 others from the East. So we are waiting for South Korea, Australia, and Japan. They are partners of NATO, so they can join. Okay, so the structure. CCD-COE, you can see on the right corner the structure, but mostly it has 3 branches, and this is the most unique of that. They have Strat, Law, and Tech. So these are also their flagships of their project, what they're doing there. And the unique thing is that under the same roof, they have all these elements that, in my understanding, they're all valuable. So in a simple way, Strat tells us what we want to go, what we need to achieve. The law said that what is wrongful and what is right, and we are doing, or what we cannot do, specific on our West democratic countries. And the tech, of course, it's us, the techies, that would tell them this is cable and this is not. Okay, so we'll try to talk about some of the flagships that they have, and we'll actually say what is, why this is influence us. So this on 2013, Tallinn Malwan 1. It's a 4-year project that actually Mike Smith started. It's a professor from US Naval College of War, and they say that if international law applies to cyberspace on specific warfare on 2013. And actually the crucial here is that the states, they have the rights, but they are also bearer of obligations. Something about the sovereignty and jurisdiction and all that. Most of the time we are hearing on the news a cyber attack, and this is a cyber attack. Okay, so Tallinn Manual said, there are several rules there, and it says in simple English what a cyber attack is. And this is most important. All the time definitions of words are very important. So it says that it's a cyber operation, defensive or offensive. We don't care about that. But it has a reasonable expected causes injury or death. I don't know if you can see. And damage or distraction. So here we have the physical dimension. A cyber attack should have something physical consequences, something that you destroy. All the others are not cyber attacks. Okay, that's Tallinn Manual 1, and then we have Tallinn Manual 2. Well, it's on 2017, and it's expanding the cyber warfare also in cyber operations. Actually, it's going further to the things that are happening daily, that we have discussed before. Things that are below the threshold. We'll talk about the threshold of a cyber attack, and these, let's say, wrongful acts. Okay, that's a very nice slide that maybe it describes what I said you before. So we have the threshold here, that it's the use of force that has something damage, physical damage, and then Tallinn Manual 2 is talking about this, international wrongful acts, DNS hack and all that. Okay, so one other big flagship of the CCD COC is lock seals. Maybe a few of you have also participated or you know how it's working. The issues here is we have blue teams according to the nations that they want to participate, of course the sponsor nations, and they are on their home base. They have their virtual environment that is as close to the real one. The difference with other exercises is that they have live firing. You have a red team that during the exercises is really making attacks. So the blue teams need to defend. And of course you have a scoring white team and green team infrastructure and all the rest. But the most important is to understand that it's live firing. Okay, here you have, this is some photos of LockSeal 2018. I've been green team and red team, and most of the time, all these 3 years. You have seen some numbers here, but what I want you to mention is that mostly we are aiming as NATO on critical infrastructure. These are our concern as electric power grid system, unmanned area vehicles, and of course Estonia, that's a successful story because here you see two ladies. Well, on the left is the director, Merle, and on the right is the president of Estonia. So you see on a high decision political level, they take serious cyber. And these are nice 3D printed. Okay, and now the final, we have the Cyclone Conference. Every year, it's very successful. There are mostly 600 high decision makers that they get influenced by the conference, and they have open discussion on that. Maybe you can recognize Jeff Moss, Admiral Rogers, Snyder, Mikko Hipponen, and I want to mention these two guys there, Kate Misuris and Alex Stamos. I was involved on their invitation, and personally I think they're a successful second generation Greek Americans that they're doing dealing with cybersecurity. Okay, So we said what CCDCOE is doing, and let's say what NATO is thinking, and why this is some kind of vessels that communicate. So NATO will always consider like cybersecurity incident response, and then we moved to 2018 to something like be a part of NATO. And we have moved from information assurance to mission assurance. This is very important things to see as a level up. And of course, NATO understands that cyberspace is a domain that they need also to defend itself as it does in other domains. And of course, we need cooperation with our allies. Okay, so how we moved there? Okay, the milestones. In 2018 in Wales, I want to make an asterisk here, just on is 2014. It's 1 year after Tallinn Manual 1. So they said that NATO allies said that cyberspace, international law applies in cyberspace. What the manual was saying. And also they would say that cyber attack could trigger the Article 5 of the Alliance Founder Treaty. I will explain that later. I want you here to mention that it's very careful, could trigger. Still on 2014, they're not sure. And then they came on 2016 in Warsaw Summit and they say, okay, cyber defense is part of NATO collective defense. And this is the most important idea that NATO stands for. Collective defense. What is this and what is Article 5? So collective defense says that if an ally is under attack, then and he requests for help, all the other members have to help him. So that is Article 5. And so you said that if a nation is under a cyber attack and the nation requests for help, all the other nations needs to help him. Just to mention that the trigger 5 has once only been triggered on 9/11. The other pillar here is that cyberspace is recognized as an operational domain. So we have the land, we have the sea, we have the air, we have the space, now we have cyberspace. So cyberspace is an operational domain for NATO. What does it mean actually? Well, we're not very sure. Well, we're looking for it, but actually we are trying to optimize all the cyber instruments to support our traditional operations. I don't want to say any kind of an example. Maybe we can off the record say something. And of course they need to do that on a 3-year plan. So they started thinking of how is this be done. Before I mentioned on the structure of NATO CCD, I had the red square on the up right. I don't know if you want to go back. Here, that we have operational brands now. So these guys are thinking how we can do all this on operational level. Okay, and what we need to do? Well, building our cyber defense plans. The second main idea of NATO is that pooling and sharing. NATO as an organization doesn't own anything. Doesn't own a tank or an airplane or personnel. The nations do. So the idea is that you pool and then we share in the same codes. That's the idea. So we are doing the same in cyber. We are pooling, so the nation need to build their capabilities, resources, awareness, exercises like LOCSIL, cyber coalition, trainings, and then they will be able to pool that and share it on a common cause. And here we come to the things that NATO doesn't like to talk about a lot, but as a response to a cyber attack. So we say that now, after the Warsaw of 2016, we say that the response will be full spectrum. This is going more to a strategic way of thinking. So the adversary doesn't know what to expect. So if you have a cyber attack, you can respond in a diplomatic activities. Send some diplomatics back. United States, DNS hack and all that. Or you can respond in a cyber means, or even go further and respond with conventional means. I don't want to give an example. And also, we are saying that even though that there is a threshold on Article 5 about the cyber attack, the physical damage and all that, they should also respond in proportionally respond in our defending mandate framework below the threshold. NATO is has defensive mandate. But of course you understand that when you have the shield, you need to know how to use the sword. Even though that we try to not to say that loud. Okay, what needs to be done? Well, we need to define the rules of engagement. I don't know if this means anything to you. I could give an example. Let's say whenever you go in a peacekeeping mission, the personnel that are going there, they have a specific rules of engagement. Let's say that you're going to defend a state and you have people throwing you stones. So you have a specific rule of engagement that you're not allowed to shoot them back. They're just throwing stones. You cannot do that. This is illegal. So the same should also put in cyberspace. You want to respond proportionally in the law. Of course, we need to improve our effective command and decision-making structure in cyber crisis. There was a good example in Petia and WannaCry that NATO has cooperation with industry and the private sector. And we are doing that on exercises like Cyber Coalition. We need to start a real honest debate how we can do offensive cybersecurity and map the feasibility of coordination counter-strikes. And of course, even though that we are allies, there is a lack of trust between us, still. So we still need to improve our information sharing. We need to cooperate between ourselves because cyber defense is not something that you can play alone. We have to understand that. Okay, I think even though I tried not to be very fast, on the previous example, I said about information sharing and cooperation between the private and the public sector. From my understanding, this is an excellent example of this cooperation. If you don't know, there is a bug bounty program that run first in the United States Army, hack the Pentagon or hack the Army, then they had for the Air Force and all that. And they have really examples of that. So I'm eager for the moment that we can have some kind of a bug bounty program in NATO or even in Greece. And I promise you that you will be all invited. That's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for your attention. I wish you a fruitful conference, and I'm waiting for any questions if I can answer. Thank you.